according to the 13th Amendment, slavery or servitude would only be allowed for people who are convicted of a felony. And we have Professor Noam Chomsky of MIT stating in a brief video that we had freedom as a result of the 13th Amendment for a very little while. And then after that, they began to criminalize Black life. So if we are going to rely on the domestic legal system for justice, we already know from 400 years of experience what we can expect from that system of justice. In order for us to have standing in the international legal system, whereby we can exercise our legal right to self-determination, we have to reach the international legal system at Geneva, Switzerland, the United Nations. And they say that they protect the human rights of people. They protect the legal right to self-determination of all people. In order for you and I to have standing in the International Court of Justice and elevate, raise, resurrect justice for ourselves, we would have to be a people. And a people is defined as the aggregate of individuals that comprise a nation or a state. Aggregate is the combining of all of the elements. Each and every one of you, if you are an Afrodescendant, you read the definition and says, I am. You are an element of the total whole us. That is a people. And when we self-declare individually and collectively that we are Afrodescendant, we are then saying we are a people. As a people, we can now have standing in the International Court of Justice, and they will respond or can respond to our crime. This is important. So now the definition of a people is where we're going to start here real quick. I just gave it to you. A people represents a nation or a state. And by the way, a nation, it really means that we descend from the same experience. We descend from the same history. We speak the same language. And you know, we got a language, they call it Ebonics, that white people don't understand. We can have conversations with each other that they don't understand. We have a common language. We have a common background. We have a common culture or response to their culture. So we are a people. We meet all of the qualifications. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad took that concept of us as a people and our being able to elevate ourselves so that we might be able to use international law. And in international law, with the legal right to self-determination, we have the right to determine all things Afro-descendant. We have a right to decide how we're going to live, what's going to be our language, what's going to be our culture, what's going to be our way of life, how are we going to protect ourselves, how are we going to educate ourselves, how are we going to defend ourselves, how are we going to police ourselves. We have the legal right with no external input as to what we want to be, which means we have the right to decide how we're going to protect ourselves. Like Japan, Australia, Ghana, the United States of America, China, all decided we're going to respond to the pandemic like this. You had to wait on what the federal government said you was going to have to do, what the state government said you was going to have to do, and then you had to fall in and follow their instructions because you have not declared yourself a people. You're still operating under his name, African American. And as a result of operating under his name, you therefore have to do what he tells you to do. And if you have to do what he tells you to do, he's in charge of you. He decides for you. A grown man A grown woman. The white man gonna determine your future. This one here that shows you how much he loves you, how much he respects you, how much he honors you, your women and your children. If you satisfied with that, you don't need to declare yourself. But the rest of us, we ready to stand up against this cracker. Pardon me. Let me calm myself down. I don't need to call him a cracker. I should just call him Mr. White Man or the American government and all of its institutions, because it's not necessary for the name calling and subjecting or reducing ourselves like that. We can just simply identify him and place a record on the table of his deeds, and we'll let you make the judgment as to what kind of a human being he is. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad took that concept, our identity as a people, it accessing or giving us standing in the international law, and international law representing all of the people of the earth. There are 193 member states in the United Nations. Each one of those member states represent a nation, which is what a people are. So each one of the peoples of the earth will have a say in judging the issues we bring before the international court. Do you agree that that improves our probability of achieving justice?
Yes, sir.
So we are raising justice. We are resurrecting justice. We're elevating ourselves to a higher court, which could save us. Save us from what? Well, this white man, he's got plans. If you have been doing your research and doing your homework, this coronavirus, according to reports, according to evidence presented that I didn't bring with me today, so I'm going to speak hypothetically. If I had my evidence with me, I would show you the evidence. But it has been reported that the coronavirus is a man-made virus with a patent, that it is the splicing of a coronavirus and an AIDS virus, that Dr. Fauci used $3.75 million from his budget to send to a laboratory in Wuhan, China, to continue the work of making it contagious from human to human. They've got a plan in mind. They want to put a chip in you. They want to tell you you can't get your driver's license if you haven't been vaccinated. They want to control you in ways you don't want to be controlled. What can save you from that? Your self-declaring, I am Afrodescendant, and invoking your international right to self-determination, which means just like China said, we're going to handle the virus this way, the Afrodescendant nation says, well, we're going to handle it like this. No outside interference. Nobody out there can say, no. That's over with as soon as we self-declare. This is significant. This saves us. Now, I just talked to you in legal, political, international language. Now, I'm going to show you the Honorable Elijah Muhammad saying that, and it sounds like nothing but pure religion. The second word is Bible. The Bible warns you and me that on the final destruction of the wicked, is the white man and his government and all of its institutions wicked? Allah, God, will say to the angel that he has to usher in the judgment to bring his people to him. Everyone that is called by his name. In the chicken wing talk, Silas Muhammad said that the Afrodescendant nation is the nation that Master Farad Muhammad had in mind in 1930. That would mean that if the Afrodescendant nation is what he had in mind in 1930, then this is his name, Afrodescendant. Let me back up and calm down. Allah God will say to the angel that he has to usher in the judgment to bring his people to him. Everyone that is called by his name. For he gives his people his name so that he might save them, so that they may be the servant of Allah as God as they were the servant of the white slave master. As long as you are in the name of the white slave master, you belong to the white slave master. Now, we all perceive that, I know I did, to be my personal name, Jabari. I should change it from Gerald to Jabari. That's the name of God. That's what you did. That's what we did. But now that we have advanced and now that we are in the international arena and we know that a people is the aggregate of individuals that comprise a nation or a state. Now when we read him saying that God said bring his people, the ones who are called by his name, Afrodescendant, so that he could save them from this white man who's got some other plans that we could subvert by invoking our international right to declare ourselves how we're going to respond to what's going on in the world.